Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We are going to wait 2 more minutes and get started right at the hour. Thanks for joining. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It is 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we are going to get started. Welcome to the Denison Consulting Partner Webinars series, where we'll be talking about growing your network. This is Zach Ackerman. I'm our Director of Business Development, which means that I lead our sales and marketing functions here in the United States. I work with a lot of clients and partners to make sure that you all are equipped with all the tools you need to succeed. Today, I'm joined by Jay Richards, one of the founding associates at Denison and a senior consultant. I brought him in today because better than most people I know, Jay is fantastic at growing his network. While he was a founding associate of Denison Consulting and is now part of our internal team again, for over 10 years he was an independent consultant, actually going out on his own, bringing in clients of his own, doing organizational change consulting and leadership development coaching, using Denison's tools, but as an independent entity. And he's going to talk a little bit today about his experience, some of the pain points that he had when he was in your shoes, and some of the ways that he's discovered over the years that he can break through that and help to bring in new clients and meet them where they are. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jay. If you have questions throughout, please feel free to use the chat function. And also just keep in mind, we're sharing how Jay has kind of identified a few different means to connect with potential clients. By no means do we have a monopoly on all the ideas out there on how to grow your network, but we wanted to share a few that we've found to be really successful. And we may open it up at the end, depending on time, to hear other people's experiences and best practices as well. So Jay, over to you.
Thank you, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you as well. And as Zach said, this isn't like a silver bullet or anything like this. These are just little things that I do to continually expand my network and put myself out there. And when Zach was looking for ideas, I had proposed this as maybe something just to share, not only how you get your network out there, but also at the very end, how you work with Denison as well. I've always found it useful. The more I stay connected with Denison, the better I think I am as getting information out there, because they do a lot of the research for you and, can be your partner as well, which is really helpful when you're out there as an independent, kind of trying to do it on your own. So what we're going to talk about is a little bit of just building the network. I was going to give you some ideas just on LinkedIn on how I go out and build my network. Some of the things that I learned a long time ago is, writing for trade pubs, going out there. These guys, these people out there in the trade pub world, they don't even have writers in these magazines. And there's thousands of these magazines, but they do have editors. So if you write it, they'll do the editing and publish it online. And I'm not so worried about paper type of trade journals. Those are falling by the wayside. What I like are these trade pubs with, a readership of 60,000 some odd people all over the world. And then local speaking, not just local in my hometown, but I'm talking about within the Great Lakes area and things like that. And then finally, we'll end on get to know Denison. Like I said, getting to know them, getting the latest research, how to maybe co-brand our survey with your logos and things like that. Okay? So here we go. So LinkedIn, to me, I look at that as years ago when I first started, I was thinking, well, do I put together a website, things like that when I was out on my own. But what you find is that LinkedIn really becomes your website. There's a lot of information you can put on there that kind of introduces you to the world. And then, you create that following, and that's what I'm going to kind of talk to you a little bit about today. But, here, like I said, you can post all of your information under your name and things like that. And then post content, things like that. So like I'll show you about the trade pubs, I do a little bit of writing and things like that. So if I'm not getting it published, then I'll even post it, little things that I find of interest about what I do. I can post right there and get exposure that way. But, one of the things I struggled with earlier is that when I looked at my LinkedIn, it was kind of slow moving in terms of how I first started out. You get a blitz, you get up to about maybe 400 or so people, especially in my field where, you get a lot of organizational psychologists and consultants and things like that. But it really wasn't a lot of people out there in terms of who I was trying to target, which are, decision makers at companies and things like that. And it was actually my son who got me on Twitter at one point. And we were all out on the back deck one summer here in Michigan. And these kids are all always on their Twitter and their Instagrams and things like that. And, he had just got me on there, and I just jokingly started bragging about, hey, I got 26 followers now. And of course, they all looked really seriously, but they were smirking, thinking that I was actually serious about that. But one of the things I, talk to my kid, how do I grow my network? I'm asking my senior in high school. And he says, well, Dad, what happens when somebody sends you a connection? What do you do? I said, well, I connect with them. He's like, right. And it then gave me an idea, not on Twitter, because Twitter to me just wasn't where I wanted to go, but LinkedIn. I thought, hey, wow, I wonder what happens if I use their filter and actually just search for people in the Detroit area in the field that I want. And what I found was that I could just go in, filter out the people I'm looking for, typically HR, CHROs, senior VPs, VPs, CEOs, CFOs, and things like that. And it would give me maybe about 6,000 some odd people in the state of Michigan. And then I would sit on my back porch and just hit connect, 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 connect. Next page, connect, 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 connect. Just start connecting with everybody. And I wanted to see who would actually connect. And what I found was that actually 40% of the people would actually reply with a connection. And what happened is I actually started developing so many leads that people within these companies that I wasn't connected to, nor did I send a connection to, were starting to connect with me because they'd see I'd be connected with their CHRO or their CEO, and they would just automatically assume they would start or need to be connected with me. So I get up to about 3,000 or so connections. That's about the limit before you get on LinkedIn's radar. Then they start looking at you as, well, maybe we should make you pay on a monthly thing. And they kind of make it a little bit more difficult for you to do that. But let me show you what I do, though. Here's my LinkedIn account. Basically, I go to my network, and then I can go search on people. And here we go, search on people. And then I go all filters. I'm going to look for Detroit, since we're located, 35 miles outside of Detroit. I'm going to look for not first connections, because I'm already connected with first. I'm just going to look at second connections. And then we're going to go to down to title. And I'm going to look for SVP. And, well, we're just going to go VP. How's that? We'll go VP, and then we're going to go Human Resources. Those are usually the people that we tend to connect with. And then we're going to go, well, let's just go, oops, misspelled it. HR, how's that? And that's HR consultant, but I don't want that. So I'm just going to go with SVP, Human Resources, spelled right, and then I'm going to hit apply. And right there, apparently I'm connected with everybody but 7 people. So then, normally though, when you just start out, you'll see thousands. I mean like 5,000 or so. And so what I do is now I just hit connect. I could end a note, also one of the little helpful hints, and I'm not going to do it right now because I haven't written it up, but I might put a more personalized note that, hey, I saw you, you're in the area, I do what you do, love to connect. When you do that, it has a higher likelihood as well. But here I'm going to hit send now. Go to the next one, MRM Worldwide. I'm going to go connect, send now. The next one, SVP NCHRO, hit connect, and send. Yeah. And you just go through those, and then usually over the next day or two, you'll start seeing connections when they accept it. Go ahead, Zach. Zach's got a question.
Awesome. And I've just a bit of commentary here. You know, I lead our sales and marketing team, and so we have a few more formal processes around this. And what I love about what Jay has done is he's taken what we've learned out there as best practices in sales and marketing and kind of done the poor man's version of it, right? This is a free way to do a lot of what LinkedIn even encourages their paying customers to do. So there are a couple tiers of ways in which you could pay for LinkedIn service. So you can get a gold membership, which is about $500 a year, which allows you to do more of this kind of activity. Or you can even use their Sales Navigator tool, but that costs a minimum of $10,000 a year. And so while that's a good investment for Denison Consulting as a larger firm, you know, that might not be in your budget for this year, and you can do a lot of those same activities taking advantage of LinkedIn's free services. And we did get a question from the Netherlands. Thanks, Eric. Do people automatically just connect, or do you receive a lot of questions as to why you reached out to them?
Actually, they don't really send questions of why.
Yeah.
They typically just don't. I'm surprised that 40% is huge, at least when I first started out. Now that I'm getting so many, I think that rate's gone down a little bit, but when I first started doing it, it was immediately. I pretty much over a 2-month period built my network up to about 3,000 people, so it was quick and very easy to do. Yeah,
and geographically concentrated too, right? So Jay is very targeted because he knows that he's most effective if he's within, you know, a 5-state area. And so while his network is 3,000 for that 5-state area, if he was trying to go the entire domestic United States, right, he could get much higher over time.
Yeah, and what I also do as well is I actually targeted manufacturing. So having grown up, you know, in Michigan, Great Lakes area, I love to go in and out of plants. And so manufacturing is typically most of my clients, although I will choose from geography a little bit of Florida down there during the winter time.
Yeah, why not? But no, and Eric, I appreciate your question. So we use some of LinkedIn's paid services on the sales side here. And we've developed some kind of I guess, kind of lessons along the way. One of which is you're likely going to be the first to respond. So like you would need an elevator pitch meeting face to face. Having something that's short, 3-4 sentences that really distills why you're interested in this person you're connecting with, who you are and why they should pay attention to you is really important. And then also having prepared some kind of a potential, what we call a drip campaign, which is, you know, maybe a month after your initial contact, what's the small, short follow-up note that you might send to stay relevant? If you don't hear back, what's the, 3 months after that, what do you want to send? If you don't hear back after that, 6 months later, what might you want to send? And just having some of those things templated, ready to go, and then setting calendar reminders for yourself to send those out can be a really effective way to stay relevant and personal for these people. Because LinkedIn is the only place where me and you get to be in the same same environment as decision makers in the companies that you want to work with. And so having some kind of relevant content for them to explore can be really helpful.
Yeah, and it's amazing what it'll do. And when you have 3,000 people, I had some guy that connected with me. He's in Florida. He used to be from Michigan, had been down there a couple of years and just wanted to get back. And so he connected with me and then just started communicating. And I thought he was a pretty cool guy. He was a manufacturing guy. So I said, hey, listen, I got a lot of contacts. What I'll do is I'll post out there that, I got a guy, met him, talked to him. He's a pretty good guy. He's got a lot of great experience. He gets the whole OD thing, plus the Lean, Six Sigma, all of that stuff. If you're interested and you're looking for someone, send me an instant message. And boom, I had 4 or 5 immediately, and he got employed. And now he is bothering me because he's forever indebted to me. But that's the power of these types of networks. And when I post, we're going to go into trade journals here in a second, but when I post those, you can sit there on the Denison website and just start watching, because we track, how did you hear about us? And one of the things is Industry Trade Journal, and so suddenly, boom, 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 boom. I'm in a podcast now in June with some large media company in Chicago. So anyway, let's move on. Let's go to...
One other thing is, on your LinkedIn, don't forget to add your license and certification that you're Denison certified. Throw our logo on there, link it to us. You are officially our partner, and you should tell the world about it.
Exactly. So writing for trade pubs, this is back when I first started. I was modeling myself after one of our most successful consultants. And one of the things I remember her telling me was, Jay, there's a lot of trade pubs out there. And I'll get on a plane after visiting a client, and I can write 1,500 to 1,800 words on the trip back home. And that's all they're looking for. They'll give you the model, the recipe. And to me, the recipe is this. I use a lot of our Denison data. We sit on a pile of data here. And so one of the most recent ones I'm floating around is there's 2 articles I'm pitching to the Michigan Manufacturers Association and then Industry Week. One of them's, do you have a turnover problem, why people stay? And it talks about the positive characteristics of people that are staying in their organizations, but why? What is it they like about the organization? The other one is where I take the data of why they're leaving, meaning that they're actively looking for jobs. So anyway, I use a lot of research and then a little story relating it to a client. And then put in there, I never really liked these, but you kind of got to give into them, like the 3 things or the 5 things you should do. People just eat that stuff right up. So when I floated my latest article in December out to Industry Week, I just said, hey, I'm floating this around, do you want it? 5 minutes later, I had an answer that, that they take it. So basically is these people, they need writers, they need contributors, and there's a lot of them out there. And all you got to do is go in online, find the one that you want. So for example, I take this next one here. So I type into Google, biggest trade magazines in utilities. I just took that. I like manufacturing, this one, utilities. And it comes up with, here are just some of my our favorite utility magazines, Electric, Light and Power, et cetera, et cetera. What do? You go in there. Some of the first articles, when I type, what do they do around culture? A culture of innovation. This is written by some guy from Price Waterhouse. They're always looking for people like us that are experts in the field. And you don't even really, they'll tell you that you don't even have to write that well. If you get a story and you can articulate it on paper in about under 1,800 words, they will take it and they will rewrite it. And it's amazing what they do, these editors. And then boom, you're published. And now you got something to post on your LinkedIn account, post on Facebook or whatever other social medias or your websites or things like that. But go in, search on whatever field that you seem to feel you have an expertise in. Type in Google trade pubs in financial organizations. Boom, you'll get them all. I usually try to put the top ones, and that'll give it to me. Industry Week is the one I've developed a relationship with, but I'm also looking at Industry Today and a few others. Then local speaking, that's another one. I'm actually just starting to focus in on. I saw Zach put that I was a speaker. I do speaking with a lot of internal clients, and I've done speaking with some of my clients with 200 people in the room and things like that. And I do like it. I actually like getting up and talking about what we do because I really love what we do. So this year, one of my goals for 2020 is I thought, you know, gosh, if I can get people to publish my writing, why can't I get people to invite me as a speaker? Now, I'm not thinking I'm going to get a Tom Peters speaking engagement or anything like Barack Obama or any of these other people that get paid $50,000 for. I don't care. That's not why I'm doing it. What I'm looking for is to help build a funnel at Denison and grow my business. So what I did was, is I just type in call for speakers in Michigan. And what you'll do is you'll suddenly, boom, it'll pop up all kinds of information of little trade places like Michigan SHRM. There's one that I've got a submission into. I think that one is October, and that's Michigan SHRM on the west side. We got MAPI in October and things of that nature. So just in the past month, MAPI, podcast with Putnam Media, Industry Week in June, SHRM in October. I've got some certain things on my radar for Ohio, Illinois, and the Michigan manufacturer in 2021.
And while Jay is a special person, it's less about Jay being Jay and more the fact that what Jay does differently is he doesn't just look for HR specific or OD specific or industrial psychology specific events. He looks in the industries in which he's been most successful, because we are a small drop in the HR field, in the OD field, in the industrial psychology field. However, when you start speaking to manufacturing leaders or utilities leaders or financial service leaders, whatever your industry, whatever your sweet spot, your wheelhouse may be, then we're a unique voice, we're a refreshing voice, we're a voice that's more progressive and cutting edge. And that's really attractive to those kinds of event organizers. So when you're a unique, opportunity, they jump on that. Both the editors for the trade pubs, but also the event organizers for these conferences.
Thanks. And very good point. So those are the local speaking. You can give that a shot. Put your presentation together and then go out. And they're looking for people, trust me. Anyway, so getting to know Denison, that's the other thing that I was telling Zach that I think is really interesting. And I feel like I've always had an advantage there because, I was one of the members of the founding team, and I kind of made a transition from doing a lot of survey projects and things like that up into just going out and consulting, and then all of the other things that I've done. But I'm here, I'm on site, I get to see some of the new stuff that's out there. And one of the things that Zach just put out there for people are financial metrics and things like that. We always, in the days when we first started this, talked about linking culture to the bottom line. That was our tagline, and we do that, and we've been doing that for 25 years. But I wonder sometimes when people get emails, we're good about sending stuff out to people, but do people always open it up? I think there's a small percentage of people that will actually open things up and look at it. This one right here is financial metrics. I use this all the time. I think it's fantastic because it applies to every organization, not just manufacturing, but financial. My clients like Outback Steakhouse, not Defense Logistics Agency, they're military. But from a profitability standpoint, EBITDA growth, earnings before interest and taxes, 17% for the top 30 companies in that study that they did, and the bottom 30 -1. And it shows them over and over. We've got safety, we've got customer satisfaction, we've got all these great graphics that you can plug and play into your presentations depending on who you're doing work with. If it's a retail outlet, you're probably looking for customer satisfaction, like restaurants, retail, and things like that. Get the customer satisfaction one that we've got. If you're doing anything like financial services, profitability, safety, manufacturing, all of these things you can just plug into your presentation and use some of the newest data. But more importantly is, be a partner with Denison. You can be a partner with Denison. And I don't know if a lot of people know this, but our online survey system is a pretty slick tool, and we can actually co-brand it. Now, this isn't my logo. I'm a Denison person. But I thought, well, I'll create it because I am an independent as well. So here's my little logo, J. Richards, Inc. And, you know, I can actually put that on a survey. So if I'm working with company ABC, okay, and that's my client, I can bring in a Denison account manager. So if I don't know the survey operations as well, why do I have to start to struggle through that when I'm talking with my client? I can bring a Denison person in, and they're my Denison people, okay? And they can tell you everything you need to know about the survey in terms with your client. You can talk about what you do best, and they talk about what they do best. And then even when the survey system gets set up and goes out, the first thing their employees are going to see is basically your logo and a welcome to the survey. So it'll seem like we're both here together, and that's the important part.
Yeah, and we totally recognize and respect that this is a sensitive thing, right? Your client list is your lifeblood. It's what keeps the lights on, keeps the rent paid, and we fully respect that. And whenever you're starting a project or even a proposal that includes Denison, feel free to be explicit with us about how hands-on you want us to be, or how behind the scenes you want us to be. And it may be different for each client relationship, and never hesitate to tell us and be direct. We've heard it all. It's part of the job, and we're going to be professional. Our entire team will be professional through and through.
Yeah.
So feel free to bring us on as a partner, to walk beside you through the project. Feel free to keep us as your back office, whatever is most comfortable for you. But definitely co-brand things, both from a graphics perspective, from like the study that Jay showed you on the last slide, and in your survey tools as well.
Yeah, and going back to tying this all into people, we've got a guy in Canada, in Toronto, David Sloan, great consultant, works with a lot of Canadian companies. He co-brands the survey, but he also has a great study, so we work with him now to tell his story to the world, because he's got some really great case studies that I know some of my contacts in the manufacturing world would love to hear about. So that's co-branding. Now, the really cool thing is you can get trained to run your reports. You can run them. You know, if you work with Denison for years, and if you haven't tried this yet, we have an online report portal now that it gives you the ability to run them. So if you're sitting there in the Netherlands, right, and it is, 9 a.m., and you got a presentation at 11, and what would that be here in the States? Would it be 5? You're not going to get a Denison account manager to run that report for you. So what you do here is you got the ability to compare and filter, run your own reports. You'll see right here the overall. You can go in and just take that overall and go by location. You can go location by gender. You can go location by whatever you want to. You can slice and dice this thing in your own home. You just click on the link and you're already there, and you can do anything, run your reports, you can download your PowerPoints. I mean, to me, this is immensely powerful, because when I'm going through somebody's data, you know, I can't just assume I'm going to, you know, I know what I want in terms of reports from Denison. So there might be things I didn't think to ask for. So when I'm going into a sub-segment or a subculture of the organization, I might want to say, wow, I might want to see how they divvy up by generation. Maybe there's something there. Maybe hourly, or management versus hourly, or things like that. I've got the ability to do that. I don't even have to call Denison. I can have it done within 5 minutes after I think about it. And that is a pretty powerful little piece in a way you can work with Denison and things like that. So. Then we got the Knowledge Center, and I'm going to let Zach cover that. That's his little baby, and it's a pretty cool thing as well.
Yeah, and so another important piece of getting in touch with Denison and staying in touch with Denison is understanding what's coming next. So we're always working on new things, from new products that you can roll out. For example, we're finalizing wording on a sustainability module, which will help organizations look at their culture around sustainability, something that's going to be fairly groundbreaking and probably exciting to some of your clients. But we also have new tools and resources that we're rolling out for your use and your use with clients, things like a knowledge center. So we've done the Herculean effort of compiling all of the material that Denison's created over the last 20 years, updating the research, updating the look and feel, modernizing it, and then organizing it and concentrating it into a universal knowledge center, which will have just a wealth of materials for you in PDF that you can use, you can steal from shamelessly, quote, however you need to use it, however you want to use it, and the materials included in it that we'll be going live with this quarter. So just things to keep in mind. We'll publicize that widely when it's ready, but just a lot of stuff changes quickly, and we do our best to keep you updated. By having an ongoing relationship with us, that's two ways of communication, is going to make sure that you're equipped with the latest tools possible. And my team here, just in the Ann Arbor office, is 3 people just waiting for the phone to ring to talk to you and share these things with you. We have an office also in Zurich, Switzerland. So we're ready and able to serve you, and we just really appreciate that two-way relationship so we can make sure you have absolutely everything that you need to succeed. So that gets us to the half-hour mark to leave some space and room for conversation. I know that Eric had one more question that I think is important to address, and then I'll actually unmute everyone, and we'll see how that goes. We'll take questions from the group. Eric's question, well, first of all, comment that 90% of his clients are on the business side, not HR, so he was animated to hear about how we engage other industries. But he had a question about how do others experience this in their countries, in other countries. And so I'll let Jay comment on that if he can. He touched on the David Sloan example in Canada. But then we'll also open it up to the broader group if they want to share some of their own experiences and best practices. Again, we're just trying to create the space to share these ideas, not that we have a monopoly on all the good ones. Yeah. So, Jay, go ahead, and then I'll unmute the group.
And what did you mean by how other people are doing it in other countries?
Yeah, so call for speakers, publications, things of that nature.
Oh, and I'm not sure how they do it in other countries, but I would imagine it's quite similar, right? I mean, if we've got trade organizations here in the U.S., I would imagine there's just as many in Europe and Asia as well. And to me, that's where I use Google. I use Google to do everything. And if I've got an idea like speakers, I know that there's a term called call for speakers. And so I might go, quote, call for speakers, end quote, and then where I'm at, where I want to go. And it would pop up. I mean, I would ask you, just try it right now, and you'll probably find areas in the Netherlands if they've got speakers like that as well.
And know that we have more localized resources with more localized expertise. So our office in Zurich can probably better inform the environment in continental Europe. We have a resource in Nabil Susu, who's our Vice President of Global Business Development based out of Ann Arbor, but works heavily in Asia Pacific, Latin America, and the Middle East. So, we can give you more localized expertise should you need it. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and unmute the group. Hopefully, this won't just descend into chaos. I trust you all. Here we go. So feel free to share any ideas, comments that you have, or other things that you found have been worked really well. And Adriana, I'm trying to unmute you, so I'll work on that while the rest of the group shares.
Thanks a lot for today's information. I don't have any question.
Great. All right. Well, we'll leave the